The meditation this evening has two parts. And I think that depending on where you are in your life, one of these parts may speak more loudly to you than the other. So the name of the first part is called Playing Clarence. So you know where I'm going with this, don't you? All right, you're going to help me out because I, for the very first time in my life, watched It's a Wonderful Life this week. Can you believe I've lived this long? It's not that long. All right, so for those of you who don't know It's a Wonderful Life, of course you know that it stars Jimmy Stewart. And it was made in 1939, eh? Like, who knew he was even alive back then? Or anybody, for that matter. So, his name is George, right? George. All right, so it's Christmas Eve. And George is full of despair. And he has decided that he is going to take his own life because he has concluded that he has not pursued ever one dream or goal that he has set for himself. And he just can't live with the desperation and the hopelessness anymore. But there was suddenly, upon this decision, an alert sent to heaven. And Clarence, the angel, was called upon for a very special assignment to take George down memory lane in his life to show him how life-giving his decisions had been. Even as a child, George was prone to put the needs and hopes of others ahead of himself. And so even as a child, he was rescuing his brother from drowning. And even as a child, he was covering up for a bad decision made by his boss. And then he grew to be a young adult and was about to go off to university, but then his father died and his father's life needed to be rescued. But only he could do it. And it just seemed to be every time he was going to make a step forward to something he always wanted to do, somebody else's crisis took precedence. And his heart opened wide to be able to shine in the lives of others and bring others into their new life. So we have this really amazing friend of St. Andrew's. She is 94 years old. But 9 weeks ago, she fell and broke a bunch of bones. And I swear she is the most independent woman I have ever met. And when she says, nobody's telling me what to do, she means it. But suddenly, with one fall, she's lost her independence. And she has had to leave her very comfortable home and move into one room in a retirement home. And I have journeyed with her through this travesty. And I have seen another side of her. The one who was the can-do person. The one whose eyes lit up when you told a good joke or you brought up politics. So I was there yesterday, 2 days before Christmas. And she's not turning a corner yet. She is dreadfully, dreadfully angry. And you don't talk people out of being dreadfully angry and sad. But I guess I had the wherewithal to say, could you remind me about that story when? Or was it that sponsored your family to come to Canada again? What about the first time you laid eyes on your husband? What about where you lived when you followed him back over to England when he went back with his regiment? And you know, she arrived in the room again with her lovely smile and her laughing eyes and a few tears as she journeyed through her life and recalled all those people she had loved and who had loved her. Whew. So, you will have 2 assignments this evening. Here's the first one. Your assignment is to be the angel called Clarence. And you don't have to pick a 94-year-old. Just somebody who's forgotten about joy and forgotten how to be fully alive and can't quite remember how profound their presence has been on this planet for those who love them. Just listen somebody's story back into being fully alive. Because when we are fully alive, then God is surely alive within us. The second meditation is called The Flame That Burns Around the World. After the bomb fell on Hiroshima in 1945, a Japanese woman collected burning cinders from the blast and kept them burning. They stayed burning within her family home for 40 years. Then her son created an eternal flame from them. In 2003 and 2004, this flame was carried around the world by boat, taken to Pearl Harbor and other sites for forgiveness ceremonies. It was taken to the uranium mine in the States, where the uranium had been mined for the bomb, also for a forgiveness ceremony, and then brought to England. And the candle lit was for a ceremony in Glastonbury, where it was joined with a number of other flames from a variety of spiritual communities, including the children's flame from the U.S., lit from the UN conference on the Year of the Child. And all of these communities making a pilgrimage to join this flame from Hiroshima, to create the flame of Avalon, which still burns in the temple there. This taper candle used tonight to light the Christ candle was first lit from a candle that was lit from the flame of Avalon, that came from that flame that came from the bomb dropped on Hiroshima that killed over 100,000 people in 1945. It's staggering to comprehend the kind of destruction humankind is capable of. But what is also staggering to comprehend is that tonight we, along with millions of others across the world, will light candles for hope, for peace, for love, and for joy. And as we lit those candles tonight, we claim that old story that Christmas story that tells us that the mystery we call God shows up in the flesh, in the baby, in the vulnerable one, in the frightened one, in the manure of life. And I'm going to suggest that when we light our candles from that candle this evening, we are saying yes, as did Mary and Joseph before us, to nurturing this story within our own lives. We are saying yes, we will give birth to hope and to peace and to joy and to love. For if these things are not born in human form, they will not be born at all. So here is your second assignment. You have a moment or two to prepare for it. Knowing that the flame that you will be carrying tonight originates back to an intention by a Japanese woman to ignite a new story out of a tragic one. I challenge you to listen for a word that will give birth to this new story as you enter the next season of your life. A word meant to transform you, but never just you. A word that, taking root in you, will transform the world around you, for it is fueled by this sacred story whose vision is the healing of the nations. So listen carefully as the evening progresses for that word that will give light to a world that waits for your birth. Because when we are on fire with hope and peace and joy and love, then it is God who is born among us again and again and again.